Inshallah, we can make a start now. إن الحمد لله نستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا ومن يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. So we were on we done that, and the first revelation, second revelation, the first batch and the second batch of Muslims, that's where we were. So can just a very quick one. I hope that this will bring from the start every time. Okay. So first batch of Muslims. Should we just go through quickly the names?
We've all had a good look.
Yes, that's why I removed it. So
you got Adija.
Yeah.
Waraka. Zaid.
Waraka bin Nawfal, Zaid, yeah. Abu Bakr. And one left. Ali. So Ali ibn Abi Talib, who's the remember who's the cousin who's living with Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. He was
like 9 when the revelation starts. He's like 9.
Yeah, he was 9. So that's right. So he was a kid. He was being brought up by Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in his household.
They were cousins.
But they were cousins, yes. He's the son of Abu Talib, who basically was the father figure for Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam when he was growing up.
Okay.
And the second batch, as we discussed, the second batch of Muslims is all on the hand of Abu Bakr. So the first batch of Muslims is directly from Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. The second batch all on the hands of Abu Bakr. So Abu Bakr, as soon as he became a Muslim, from the day one he became a da'i as well. So that's one of the blessings of Abu Bakr. And the names are Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. We discussed that he's the first one to throw an arrow for the sake of Islam as in the fight, and he's the one who was there in Uhud with Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said only to one Sahabi, Fidaka Ami wa Abbi. Sahaba used to say to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam all the time, and that it means that may my father and mother be given in ransom for you. And Hazur used that phrase for only one person, and that's Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas. He is one of the Ashra Mubashara. So Ashra Mubashara are the 10 people who've been promised Jannah during their life. Uthman ibn Affan was the second one. There's no need to tell you too much. He's the third Khalifa. He's married to 2 daughters of Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. That's why he's named Dhun Nurayn. Zubair ibn al-Awwam was one of the cousins again from his aunt's side. So Aunt Safiya's son, Zubair ibn al-Awwam. And there's a hadith that Allah has given every prophet a Hawari. Hawari means disciple, a special disciple. And Zubair is my Hawari. So Zubair was his special disciple.
Why is he special? Why is he special?
Because he was a Sahabi, he was a very good Muslim, he was a friend, he was a very loyal to Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, and he's a cousin as well. So these are just all blessings. So Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam has said different things to different Sahaba just to show their importance, but it's not definitely means that the rest of them were not the disciples. They were as well.
Okay.
And Abdurrahman ibn Auf, we discussed that he was a very rich man. He gave up everything during the Hijrah. Then he went to Medina and he started doing so he started doing the trade, went to markets, took his butter which was given to him as his food. He took that butter, sold it to somebody, bought something, sold that, and very soon he became rich again in Medina as well. So he was a very clever businessman, and also he was a very one of the highest of the Muslims as well, because all these initial people, you have to memorize that they became like the legends, they became the big names in Islam. So all of them have done a lot for Islam. So there was a couple of stories which were left, which I wanted to actually discuss. So these are the names. These are all the noblemen of Quraysh. So the next person who accepted Islam was Abdullah ibn Mas'ud. So Abdullah ibn Mas'ud was not a nobleman, radiallahu anhu. He wasn't a slave either. So he was in between. So he was an Arab, but he wasn't a Qurayshi. So he was from Yemen, and he was working in Mecca as a shepherd. So he was like a servant class. So he was not a slave though. So he wasn't a Qurayshi, but he wasn't a slave either. So he's someone in between. Um, so Abdullah ibn Masud had taken his flock out to graze, and Prophet ﷺ with Abu Bakr, they passed by, and they were feeling thirsty and hungry, and they asked Abdullah ibn Masud, can you give us some milk? We are thirsty, and so we just needed something to drink. And Abdullah ibn Masud said, but these are not my sheep, so this is not my milk to give, so I can't really give you any milk. He said, okay, just show us one of the goats or the sheep which has stopped giving milk. So she's gone barren, so she's past the age where you can milk them. So the older goats, they stopped giving milk. So just Prophet ﷺ said, okay, just show us a goat which has stopped giving milk. So she's too old to give milk. And he brought one goat which was quite old and was way past the age where she was giving milk. So Prophet ﷺ said, do you mind if we milk this goat? And he was like, well, yeah, why not? Because he was sure that they won't be able to get anything from that one. And Prophet ﷺ said Bismillah, rubbed the udders, and lo and behold, the udders become full. Abu Bakr Siddiq milked the goat, they both drank, and Abdullah bin Masud saw the miracle in front of his eyes, and he said, well, you have to be someone special, you can't be just a normal human being. And so he said, who are you? And Prophet ﷺ told him that I am the messenger, Allah sent me with this message, and I am preaching the message. And he accepted Islam then and there. So he saw the miracle, and he knew that this is a prophet, and he accepted Islam straight away. So that's Abdullah ibn Masud. The next group of people who accepted Islam were all the slave class. So Bilal and Yasir and all of these, Ammar, these are the Khabbab ibn al-Arath. So these are all the slave classes. So they are the ones who accepted Islam the next. And there's another interesting story. There was a person who I think his name is Umara. Umara is a person who was from Yemen. So he came. He knew that the idolatry is not the true path. So he said, "Well, I knew that. So I heard that there is a person who is calling himself a messenger. So I came all the way to Mecca, and I met him, and I asked him, what is your message, and can I accept Islam?" And Prophet ﷺ said, no, you can't accept Islam now, because you can see my condition. I've been persecuted, and all my followers have been persecuted as well, and they have got some protection because of their tribes here. But if you accept Islam and stay here, they have got no protection. So you can't accept Islam. Go back to your people and wait till you hear that I have been victorious, and then come back. So look at the belief of Prophet ﷺ. So he had that belief from the very beginning because he's a prophet. Allah has told him that he's got no followers, almost no followers. Like he's got 8-10 people, and most of them are slaves who are following him, and he still knows that Allah will make me victorious. So he said, and the person, he had that belief. He said, I knew that he will become victorious, and he went back and he lived with his people, and he kept asking about Prophet ﷺ, and then when he found out that Prophet ﷺ had made hijrah to Medina and he is settled there now, so he went to Medina and said, Ya Rasulullah, do you remember me? And Prophet ﷺ said, yes, you are the man from Yemen. And then he accepted Islam at that time. So that's where we go next. So after accepting, after becoming a Rasul, initial phase was a private dawah, which we find. I mean, some people have said secret dawah. That's not the right word. It's not the good word to use. It wasn't a secret. It was like an open secret. He wasn't hiding that I am a Rasul or anything. It was just a private dawah. So it was only to very close friends and also to people who he knew that they would be more open to the message. So he didn't go to Abu Jahl and Abu Lahab initially because he knew that they will be against it. So he approached Prophet ﷺ, approached only those people who he knew that they will not be at least against it. They won't be too rude about it. So he was only doing it privately to very close friends and family members, only those people. And that lasted for 3 years. So initial 3 years was just private dawah. And for those 3 years there was no public persecution because there was no public dawah, so there was no public opposition. So the only people who started opposing Prophet ﷺ when he became more public, because what would they say? He's not really going out and saying to anybody about the message, so they couldn't oppose him publicly or openly. So that's why the first 3 years there was not a lot of opposition to the message. After the third year, he became more public, and there was in the Quran, Allah said to go and give dawah to your family, and that's when he realized that now it's me that I need to go out and be more public. So that's the time when he asked his cousin Ali to make a feast. So he prepared a feast for about 40 people. He invited all his family member, like Banu Hashim, his close family member, his uncles and distant uncles. So it's just all Banu Hashim. So he called them in his house and gave them something to eat. So he had just one leg. He didn't have a lot of. He just had one leg of meat and one cup of drink or soup, in which there was soup. And the narrator said that all 40 people ate from one plate to their fill, and they all drank from one cup to their fill, as everybody had their own share of plate of meat and the drink, and all of them were fulfilled completely. So that's another miracle which at the very early stages came up. But as soon as Abu Lahab, who was the uncle, he thought that Prophet ﷺ is coming up with a message. So he knew that he's a messenger and he's giving dawah. Then he realized that this is a meeting for something. So he's going to tell us about him being messenger and he's going to come up. He made an excuse and left. And he's one of the elder of the Banu Hashim. So when he left, kind of it all destroyed the mood. And he did it purposely, so that he will just make it awkward. So Prophet ﷺ left it at that time. He called the family again after a few days, and told them about.
Did he do it maliciously, or was it just to like stop everyone from hearing?
Yeah, so he was just to make it difficult, make it awkward, because he knew what Prophet ﷺ is going to say. So he did it intentionally. Yeah. So again, Prophet ﷺ called the family again, and he prepared the food, called them again, and asked them to told them about his dawah, and he said, um, Allah has sent me as a messenger, and I do not know of any Arab before me who is coming to his people with a message that is better than what I am coming to you, and I am coming as a messenger from Allah, that if you leave idols and you will do good in this world, you will be granted Jannah in the next world. And Abu Lahab became irritated at this, and he said to the people around him, "This young man, who is this young man? He thinks to stop us from our ways and our ways of our fathers." So that was always the thing. They will always say, "Oh, he's stopping us from doing what our fathers have been doing." So, like, he's stopping us from doing what is our traditions, what is our culture. So he said, "Who is this young man? What he thinks of himself? He is stopping us from from our ways and from the ways of our forefathers." And in that, Ali Razal stood up, and this shows his bravery. He's only 9, 10 years old, and he said, "Oh, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, I will help you in your this message, and I will help you." And that's where the meeting ended. And a few days later, Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam went on Safa, the Mount Safa. We said that there were two mounts, Safa and Marwa, in Kaaba, where we still, whoever goes to Hajj or Umrah, the two little mountains where you do the sa'i, so that's with the Safa and Marwa. And Safa at the time was quite actually high, and it's like a basic geology that you go up and down the mountain, go up and down the mountain. Every time somebody goes up and down, will bring some sand, some rocks with it, and it will just keep on eroding, so it will start going down, so it will lose its height. And it's been going on, and millions and millions of people have gone on Safa. So it's not as high as it used to be now, but it was quite high at the time. And standing on Safa means somebody has got something very important to say. So Prophet ﷺ went up the Safa, and he said, "Oh people," and he started calling all the tribes by their name. "Oh Bani Qab, oh Bani Makhzum, oh Bani Hashim." So he called everybody, and when all of them gathered, he said, "What do you know of me? Have I ever told you any lie?" And they said, "No, you are the trustworthy, you are the Sadiq, you are the Amin. We have never heard anything other than the truth from you, and you are the most trustworthy of the whole Makkah." And he said, "What if I tell you that there is a big army behind Safa, and they are just about to attack you?" Basically, it means that if I tell you that there is an army coming, would you just run away, listen to me, and just go and get your weapons and come back to fight? Like, do you believe me that much? And they said, "Yes, exactly. We believe you that much that we will just run away and we'll bring our weapons and start getting ready to fight, because we have never heard anything other than from you." So he said, "Okay, then listen. I've been sent as a messenger to tell you that Allah is alone, and you should not worship any idols." And so he basically gave them the dawah. He told them his message. At that, Abu Lahab did get irritated, and he said something, but he wasn't that rude indoors when it was a private meeting. But at that time, when it was public, he had to show, because he's an elder, and he had to show something more than just a little bit of irritation. So at that time, he picked up some sand and threw it. Well, he was on so it's not that he threw it on Prophet ﷺ, he threw towards him. It's just showing that you are not even equal to my sand. That kind of a thing. So it's just to ridicule him and put him down, kind of thing. At that time he said, "Tabbalak ya Muhammad," that why are you doing this, and you have, and on in the return, Allah sent the surah Tabbat yada abi lahabin wa tab, that it's not the Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who is going to get destroyed, it's the Abi Lahab who is going to get destroyed. So that's the answer to what he said at that time. So well, the major benefit from what we can learn from this is that all the dawah starts from your close ones, your family, your loved ones, your inner circle. So dawah always starts from your inner circle. There is no point ignoring your family and your close ones, and then you go and do dawah wherever you, everywhere. So like the Tablighi Jamaat, I'm not saying Tablighi Jamaat, please don't get don't take it in the wrong way. Tablighi Jamaat is doing a great job. So I don't know if you guys know about Tablighi Jamaat or not. They are everywhere. They are in England as well. So they go spend time in different mosques and do dawah. So if somebody decided to go and start spending time with them and going to other mosques and giving dawah and doesn't do anything at home, so that will not be the right thing to do. That's all I'm saying. So you start with your home and then go outside. So it's no point just going on long tours on 40 days or 10 days or whatever, and then you have got nothing to do for your own family.
The only thing, and to be honest with you, I'm not a massive fan of the Tablighi Jamaat, but I agree with you, they do good work. I think the only thing I would say in their defence is, they would argue, rather than focusing on non-Muslims for dawah, they're saying we should focus on ourselves first, as in our community, before we then go beyond that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I agree
So
with
it's
that.
the next logical step. You start with your family, then you start with your community.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that they're doing anything wrong. That's why I said.
But no, but I concur with your view that you
it's
should
just
start
that,
with your family.
yeah, start with your family. Do the things first at home, and then it's not that you should not go out and do dawah to others. It's just that you should spend more time with your family first, give them more importance, and then go out as
Do you
well.
mean by family, as in close
Your
friends?
kids,
Just,
your spouses,
yeah, no,
your
what if
friends.
What if they already believe? Like, they're not massively practicing what they believe.
So just make them work on it, and just show them. If they are not practicing, then just bring them.
Okay, no, but if they are already believing, even if they don't practice, they still believe. So you should
Yeah.
go outside more instead of focusing on your family. If you're already
No.
Muslim.
No, because you need to make them a good Muslim. So being a Muslim is not enough. By means that if you believe and don't do anything else, that is not enough. So in Islam, belief doesn't come only as a belief. It's always in allazina amanu wa amilus salihat. So amilus salihat comes with aminu. So you have to believe, and then you have to show that you have to do righteous deeds as well. So that's why when you will be successful. So the key of success is not just the belief. You have to do amal salihat as well. So if somebody is not doing that, then you have to work on them. Obviously, you have to work with yourself first. You have to start with yourself, and then with your family, and then go out.
Okay.
Okay. There's no point going and saying to others to do this and to do that, and you're not doing anything yourself. So start with yourself first, and then work outwards. So that's that's the benefit which we can derive from. So he at that time he started going to the public venues outside the Kaaba. He would stand there. He will go to the marketplaces. People, when they are coming to visit Makkah, he will go and start giving them dawah. So he will start going into the public places and start giving dawah. So whoever will come, he will give dawah to them.
Is there any record of those people that he called to at Safa, apart from Abdullah?
The whole Makkah came.
No, did any of them embrace Islam?
Not that we are aware of. Not that we know of.
Oh, okay.
Not that we know of. No, at least not that I know of. Well, the book which I read, there wasn't any mention that at that particular time anyone accepted Islam. There are lots of people who accepted Islam. There is nothing mentioned that at that particular point they accepted Islam. Do you have
I
you
don't
come
know, I'm
across?
just
No, I'm
asking
just
authorities.
asking Dr. Ghanam. Has he come across anything
No,
like it?
because as you said, Abu Lahab spoiled it.
Yeah, but that's
Everybody became afraid of
Mm.
saying anything.
yeah. So
But
that's
he used to use a lot of sarcasm,
yeah.
a lot of telling that my nephew is a liar.
Yeah.
And he will say it's his nephew, he knows him best.
So
It all goes back to what's in it for me.
yes,
Who's
exactly.
the big daddy here?
Yes.
Who's going to give me more
Mm.
benefit, I suppose?
So Prophet Sallallahu started preaching, and when so what did Quraysh did to actually stop him? So what are the things which they started doing? I mean, one of the things which I've written here, so I've realized that I haven't touched that. That means our Islam doesn't demand you to be public if there's a environment of fear. So they don't want you to, if there are people who are really against it, so you go and become a martyr by jumping outside and saying things which you shouldn't be saying. If it's an environment of fear, you just be a good Muslim, work in your close friends and families, and that should be enough for you. But then strive to make a change, but don't do something foolish. So the stages of dawah, so there are 5 stages of dawah. The first one is private, as we discussed, which lasted for about 3 years, when he was just preaching his own people. The second stage is when he became more public, and he started to have more retaliation and opposition, and this lasted for the next 10 years in Makkah. So the Meccan era is 13 years in total. So the first 3 years was more private dawah. The second years, the third stage is when he went to Medina. So this is the stage when it was open dawah. So the second stage there was no fighting. So you were not allowed to fight. So if even the Quraysh was killing people, killing Muslims, torturing them, they were not allowed to fight back. So Prophet ﷺ kept on saying, just be patient, be patient. There was no fighting back during that 10 years. The third phase is when he went to the Medina, and initial phases of Medina, that there was open dawah and fighting, but just with one group, and that was Quraysh. So all the fighters were the Quraysh. So they were not fighting with anybody else.
Why are they only fighting with the Quraysh?
Because they were the ones who get them out, kick them out of Makkah.
Oh, okay, so as in retaliation for what?
Yeah, because Prophet ﷺ wanted to get Makkah back.
Yeah,
So that's his goal is to get Makkah back, conquer it back, and establish Islamic State in Makkah as well. So that was just a military confrontation just with the Quraysh. And the fourth stage is that open dawah to all, but fighting only defensively. So like anyone came to fight them, they fought back, but it was more like a defensive fight. And the fifth stage, just before he passed away, and the Sahaba was on that one as well, is that open dawah to all, and anyone who opposes Islam, they will go and out and fight with them. So and that's the time when Rome was conquered and Persia was conquered and all of these, Egypt and all of these lands were conquered. So that was the fifth stage of dawah, and that's the last stage of dawah, so where the Prophet ﷺ was had established state, and they were just anyone who will oppose Islam and he's a threat to Islam, they will go and fight with them, rather than just waiting for them to come and attack. Does that make sense? So after the 3 years, the second stage of dawah was commanded, and this is the Surah Hijr, verse 94, which says, "Don't hide, go forth and proclaim what we have commanded you, and turn away from the ignorant people." And then there is another verse which was more explicit. It's in Surah Shu'ara, verse 214, and says, "And warn your close relative." Thus this referred to Quraysh and all those people of Makkah, who were his kinship, that the Prophet ﷺ realized that he need to go public. So that's when we discussed. So he so that we have already discussed that. So there's a Safa, we have gone to that one as well. So he started going and preaching everywhere. So when he started doing that, Quraysh started opposing him. And what are the ways they opposed him? And I mean, you have to remember, this is not in chronological order. So I'm not going, so this happened the first year, this happened in the second year, and this happened in the third year. I'm just combining all the things which they did to oppose him in one big group. So first of all, they approached to the highest authority, which is Abu Talib, who's the chieftain of Banu Hashim. So the Banu Hashim, they all went to Abu Talib and said, look, he ridicules our forefathers, he's making fun of our forefathers, he's saying that they were wrong and they were all idol worshippers, because they were idol worshippers, so they were all doing the wrong thing and we should leave the idol worshipping, which is a lie basically, because he never said that your forefathers were wrong. They were just saying that stop. Sorry, you want to
Was
say
he
something?
still under the protection of the Quraysh at this point?
Yeah, we were still Banu Hashim, and it was still under the protection of Abu Talib. Yes.
Yeah.
So, when we say protection, if you have to put it in a context to this time, you probably have to remember this is like a visa.
Yeah.
So when somebody comes and say, oh, I need a protection from someone, and somebody goes and say, oh, so-and-so is under my protection, it means like I've given visa to him. So consider him as a citizenship now. So that was kind of a citizenship for them. So if they revoke the protection, means you are an illegal immigrant now. So in that area. So that's the close I can compare it to. So he was a Quraysh, so he was under the protection of Quraysh, and Banu Hashim, and his uncle Abu Talib
Until he was forced to go to Medina.
Yeah, and he was his uncle Abu Talib, who's the chieftain as well of Banu Hashim. So they all went to Abu Talib and said, look, you have to do something. And Abu Talib came. Initially, he just kind of dismissed them. He said, the word used is qawlan layyina. So that he gave them a gentle word. So he basically stalled them. So they came to say, why don't you do something, stop him. And he stalled them. He just dismissed them, thinking that this matter will go away. But it didn't go away. And they came back and they were more persistent to say, no, you have to do something, you have to do something. To a point where Abu Talib called Prophet ﷺ and said that, look, I'm an old man, how much can I bear?
It's like emotional blackmail.
Yes, exactly like an emotional blackmail. So that is like an emotional blackmail. So he's saying that, look, I'm an old man, how much you think I can bear? Why don't you stop? At that stage, Prophet ﷺ said, if Quraysh or all the people give me sun in my one hand and moon in my other hand, I still can't stop preaching this message, because I am the messenger of Allah. I am sent for this message. I would still not stop. And in another riwayah it says that if you can reach with your stick and light your stick with the sun, I cannot stop preaching the Islam, because basically it means that it is impossible for me to stop preaching. I am a messenger, I can't stop preaching Islam. So when Abu Talib saw that determination, he said, okay, do what you want to do and I will never say anything to you after that. And he actually was true to his word, and he protected Prophet ﷺ. He stood behind him throughout his life, and no matter what happened, he was there. Although he was never a Muslim, he never accepted Islam, but he protected Prophet ﷺ, and he kind of stood behind him.
Which is why he gets the lightest punishment.
Yes, and that's so he remained true to his words.
Was it Abu Talib that was kissed by the Prophet until Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said stop, and because then the flames of hell wouldn't touch
Not
those
kissed.
parts of the body.
Not kissed. I think what you were trying to say is that Prophet ﷺ said at the death of Abu Talib that um, I will keep asking for forgiveness for you, even though Allah has not told me so. Prophets won't do anything unless Allah has told them to do something. So he said, I will keep asking for forgiveness for you, even if Allah hasn't told me, because he was so emotional, unless Allah stops me from doing so. And then the ayah came in the Quran that says that it's not befitting for the prophets, for the Muslim to ask for forgiveness for non-Muslims. So then he stopped after that. But he kept on asking for forgiveness. He kept on asking for maghfirah for Abu Talib.
Right. So
as-
that gives me some context. So it's in that context we can't ask for forgiveness for non-Muslims.
Yeah, because in Quran it's an ayah.
Really? So
Yeah.
Imams and after Friday prayers say something for, say we pray for them to maybe accept.
Accept Islam, that's fine.
That's
No,
okay.
no, no. You can make prayer. You can't ask for forgiveness for a non-Muslim. Yeah, you should pray
Just-
for hidayah for them.
I'm asking this because for years and years, and our imams who come from abroad, they just say the most horrendous things. If the non-Muslim sitting there listening, destroy them, and they all the kafirs and all
Yeah,
the
no.
unbelievers and.
Yeah, I mean that's not true. That's not the Islamic. Yeah.
Recently, but it's in the past. It was very much.
Yeah, I mean that's not the Islamic way,
No,
and we
of course
will.
not.
That's why what we are learning from the Seerah, and we will go through inshallah, and that we will see how Prophet ﷺ dealt with them in these situations. But that's in particularly about praying for for someone who has died on kufr. So you can't ask for forgiveness. So for kafir you shouldn't. It's not allowed to that you
If
ask
the
for
Prophet,
forgiveness.
if Prophet Muhammad couldn't.
Yeah, so it's in the Quran, so we have to believe that.
And especially the ones who knew what the truth is and they still didn't come to Islam.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And Abu Talib knew the truth for sure. He's seen so many miracles.
I've just got questions. What if a non-Muslim done you a favour? Has done you some good?
Yeah, Allah will give him his ajr, and most likely He has given him his ajr already in this life. And you should do whatever you can do to repay. If they have got a family member, you should go and help them out. So if you have got a favor or if somebody has a favor on you, you should try and repay that favor, whatever way you can do that. So you go and help their family members, or if he's got some debt, you go
So
and
you're not stopped from obviously doing good work with
Yeah.
them.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
obviously it's
absolutely.
only through your deeds that you will
Yeah.
inshallah give them
Yeah.
a da'iyah.
Yeah. So I mean, you need to ask for the Allah to show them the right path, who are all the non-Muslims, and Rasul used to do that all the time. So he would pray for non-Muslims, and he will ask for them to come to an extent where Allah has to actually stop him. Allah said, "Why are you killing yourself on for the people who are not accepting Islam? It's not your job. It's Allah's. It's in Allah's hand who He gives hidayah and He doesn't give hidayah." Because Prophet ﷺ was getting so worked up about people not accepting Islam that they will go to hell, and he was so worried about it that it was like affecting him so much that there's a ayah came in Quran that don't kill yourself on this matter. It's not in your hand. Your job is to give them the dawah, make sure that you make the message reach them, and then it's up to them, and it's between them and Allah. So Allah will give them hidayah if He wants to, and it's up to them if they will accept
Which
or not.
is why, in a way, there is no compulsion in Islam. You can't enforce Islam upon, which is unfortunately what happens
Yeah.
a lot of places around the world.
Yeah.
That it's enforced on people, but you can't. It's in, like you said, it's in Allah's hands.
Which will make you more like a hypocrite.
Yeah.
If somebody is enforced, if you are enforced, Islam is enforced on you, and it hasn't reached inside you, so you are not a true believer, then you'll become a hypocrite.
I would argue those people trying to enforce that are,
Yeah, those have got their own problems.
yeah,
But means if you enforce somebody on Islam
they
on
won't be
somebody,
a true believer.
yeah, they won't be a true believer. So they will just become hypocrites because they will show that they are Muslims, but inside when they are nobody seeing them, they will do whatever they want to do.
Wait, so if you can make dua for like a non-Muslim, what if you like adopt a non-Muslim, like if you want to have a job but you can't, so you adopt a non-Muslim, and they don't accept Islam, and they like, and you die, can they take your inheritance?
No.
Even if they are Muslims, they can't take inheritance now.
You can only give to them.
So yeah, so it doesn't matter if they are Muslims or non-Muslims. Adopted kids are not like your actual kids. So inheritance don't go to adopted children.
Oh,
Automatically it doesn't go. If you want to give them something, that's up to you. But
okay.
it doesn't go automatically to adopted children.
Okay.
So
So my question was an obvious one in everyday sense, not to convert people, but if someone's done me a favour, so done
Yeah.
something good,
Yeah.
you know, if he's a Muslim who says Jazakallah khairan,
Yeah.
or may Allah reward
Yeah.
you. What if it's a non-Muslim that does you?
yeah, you thank them. Well, you can thank them. And if they're alive, if they
Okay, the obvious example is one of my boss. You know, he's
Yeah.
been really good. He's
Yeah.
always been good to me.
Yeah.
His wife was seriously ill.
Yeah.
In that situation,
you can pray for their health. I mean, that's not a problem. So the only thing which Allah stopped is for a dead kafir to ask for forgiveness for them, because they haven't.
They're Amala.
Once they
Yeah, so they haven't accepted Islam. So it's kind of rude for Allah to ask Allah to forgive them. That's what.
Okay,
So yeah, so because they have not accepted Islam, they have died as a kafir. So you should not ask for Allah to forgive them.
okay,
It's
so,
leave it with Allah.
As he said before, ask Allah to guide them.
Yeah,
so we're talking about someone who might not
Allah will
believe-
make sure they are rewarded.
Yeah.
So don't worry, if he's done something good in this life, Allah will make sure he will not die until Allah rewards him for the good things he's done.
yeah.
But
And-
if someone who, you know, non-Muslim is close to you, like someone you work with, and they're seriously ill, can you pray to Allah to make them better?
Yeah, why not? Yeah, why not?
Make
Yeah,
things easier.
yeah, absolutely. Yes, you can. So I mean, it's not a haram to pray for. Abu Zusalam used to pray for non-Muslims. It's not haram to pray for non-Muslims, and he would ask for hidayah for them. So may Allah show them the right path. And because he was worried that if they don't accept Islam, they will go to Jahannam, and he loved everybody so much that he didn't wanted anybody to go to Jahannam. Basically, he wanted everybody to go to Jannah, and we Muslims and non-Muslims. You have to remember that they are all his ummah. So we Muslims are not the only ummah. So everybody in this world is Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam's ummah. When he says ummati, ummati, he's talking about everybody, Muslim, non-Muslims, everybody. So everybody is his ummah. So he's the last prophet who is a global prophet. So everybody is his ummah. So
That period must have been extremely difficult and emotionally torment for Prophet ﷺ.
Yeah.
For Abu Talib
yeah,
and you know during that time before the ayah came, obviously that released a bit of pressure, but still.
yeah. I mean, he was very emotional. Obviously, he was very hurt. We'll stop here because we've just gone over 9. Inshallah, we will pick from here next time. Anything? Anyone else has any question? Looks like this topic brought a lot of discussion. So anyone
No,
else
it's
has?
useful,
Yeah.
because I've always, I've always struggled with this notion of praying for praying for the whole of creation
Yeah.
versus just obviously Muslims. But obviously you've made sense of that, and that makes.
Yeah. So I mean, so you can pray. It's not prohibited to pray. It's just that the only thing which is prohibited is for if somebody has died who's a non-Muslim. Allah said, don't ask for
Like
their
you said, that's in
forgiveness.
Allah's hands, and Allah
Yeah.
will decide. And
Yeah.
if He chooses to forgive them, that's.
Yeah, it's up to Allah.
Yeah,
So
because Allah knows whether they intentionally wanted to believe in Allah or not.
Yeah.
If they wanted to believe in Allah, Allah will guide them.
Yeah.
If they refuse to believe in Allah, Allah will not guide them. But for you, you can pray for them to get help to you. So.